Hey, this is Mike from Icon, and I'm back in the studio with the Platform M Plus along with a Platform D2. And today we're going to cover some ground with the user-defined mode and custom mapping. We've been getting some questions about this ever since we changed to the version 2.0 firmware. So let's just jump right in here. I've already gone ahead and I went to the iconproaudio.com website. I went to downloads and I went to Platform M Plus, and I had already done my firmware upgrade and I downloaded the version 2.0, and today we're on Windows system, but I went ahead and upgraded to version 2.0 for the iMap, and also from that I was able to upgrade my Platform M Plus to version 2.01. So you can find all this here on this page. There's also some really good release notes that we've added here for the firmware and for the iMap software, and I'll just go ahead and bring those up. I already downloaded those. The application, as you know from the previous video we just did, it is featuring the new universal DAW where we have the 4 modes now. So you'll see that in the software when I bring it up, and the firmware upgrade release goes into a little bit more of what the 4 modes are that we discussed in the last video, and further down it shows what the mixer button is now doing in the different DAWs. The mixer button is changing between DAWs and what it actually does. So we'll get into more of that in a little while as well. All right, so let's go ahead and bring up our iMap, which I already downloaded. This is version 2.0, and as you can see here from the control mode, we have 4 different modes now. And today we are talking about the user-defined mode, so let's just go ahead and select that. And as you can see here, it's for the Mackie control protocol only. All right, so the next thing we would need to do is actually turn on the Platform M Plus and put it into user-defined mode. And right here I would select, I can go through my different selections, and number 4 is the user-defined mode, and it'll go ahead and boot up in that mode. All right, so we're in the user-defined mode now. It is selected. And let's make sure we are connected down here. We'll click on connect. There's our version 2.01 connected. And let's go ahead and do some custom mapping here. First thing I want to do is I want to address that mixer button, because in Cubase, if you look at the release notes, Cubase is now going to, for the mixer button, it is going to be the left marker, so it'll take you to the next left marker, or back to the beginning if that's your only marker. So I happen to like the mixer function, and I like that the mixer button would bring up the mixer in Cubase. So let's go ahead and let's custom map that first. What I do is I click on the button that is the mixer button. Right now it is at mapping of C6. And I happen to know that the MIDI note that I want is F#5. So I can go ahead. Well, before I do that, I just want to show you in this MIDI aux. I'm using MIDI aux to check my MIDI out from the M Plus. I want to show you that that I am getting C6 right now for that button, and a few other things. If you're not familiar with MIDI aux, you can go and you can Google it. Or you can just see right here, you just MIDIaux.com. That's for Windows platform. If you're on a Mac, go to snoise.com, and they have a great MIDI monitor for the Mac. Okay, so I've already downloaded MIDIaux. I have it on this computer, and I'm going to go ahead and bring it up. And if you've never used this program before, basically you would go into Options, MIDI Devices, and make sure Platform M Plus 2.01 is selected. Say OK. That opens up the MIDI input, and now we can see what MIDI we're getting from the M Plus. In this case, the mixer button, as I pointed out, was C6. So we are getting C6 on the mixer button currently. And then fader 1, I want to change that too. So let's take a look at fader 1. And we have a pitch bend on channel 1 that we're putting out MIDI. And then on the encoder 1, we have a control change that is on channel 1. So if we take a look at the iMap again, we'll see that here's C6 on the mixer. If we click on the fader 1, we'll see that it's a pitch bend on channel 1. And if we click on the encoder 1, we'll see that it is a continuous controller for pan, currently set for pan. All right, so what I want to do in this demonstration is I'm going to do a little custom mapping. I'm going to make the mixer button bring up the mixer as it used to do. And I happen to know that that's F#5. So I'm going to change this button to F#5. Just click on the button and look for F#5 in the list. And there we go, that's set. For the volume, I want to change this fader 1 to a continuous controller, and I'm going to go ahead, leave it on channel 1 and make it a modulation. And for the encoder 1, I'm going to change, I'll leave it as a continuous controller and I'll change it to a expression. And those are the 3 changes I made for now. What I would normally do at this point, if I'm happy with my map, I'm going to go ahead and save the file. Click on Save File and give it a name. I've already got a name in here, Cubase 2.0 Custom 1 iMap. So normally you type something in there. If I say save, it's going to overwrite what I had there previously. So now I've saved that file. I can load it later if I want to come back, make some changes, and load it back into the machine. I don't have to start all the way from the beginning again, because when you do shut down the iMap and bring it back up again, it will resort by default back to what we saw originally. So loading the file will bring it back to what we have now. Again, we make sure we're connected. Hitting connect, and then we simply send data. And that's it. So we've sent the data. It's already there. And now to verify that this data is now what we would like it to be, I go back to my MIDI aux and I can go ahead and press the mixer button, and you'll see on the screen there I'm getting F#5 now. All right, for the fader 1, I now have on channel 1 a continuous controller with modulation set. And for encoder 1, I now have the expression set on channel 1 with a continuous controller. So I've got my mapping, everything's in there, and the next step would be to go ahead and open up your DAW. In this case, we're using Cubase, and go ahead and set up a track and make some changes. So at this point, I'd definitely shut your MIDI monitor because it will interfere with Cubase. So make sure you completely shut that, and let's bring up Cubase. All right, so Cubase is up. I have a test project that I have like 8 audio tracks in. Let's go ahead and start with that one. All right, so here are my 8 tracks, and I have an instrument track already set up. But before we go any further, let's make sure we are connected to the Platform M+. Go to Devices, down to Device Setup. If you've never done this before, if your first time, you go to Transport and hit the plus button and add a Mackie control. Make sure it's the Mackie control. And then under Mackie control, MIDI input, you want to select the Platform M+ 2.01. For the output, the same, 2.01. Hit apply, and you'll see that the faders have snapped into position. That's because I have some automation on my tracks. Hit OK, and let's take a look at our instrument track. I want to clear this out so it's not connected at first. And before we do that, let's take a look at our mixer. Remember, our mixer button was set to bring up the mixer, and there it goes. So that's working. That's great. And now we'll go ahead and set up this instrument track. For the MIDI input, you want to select either all inputs or platform M+. I'll select platform M+, and the output, I'm going to select my VST instrument, the Hallian Sonic. All right, so there it is. I already have a track that I recorded. As you can see here, I've recorded the track already with this instrument. But before I go ahead and play that back, I want to show you real quickly how you can use that fader 1, which was set to modulation, and use it for any of these controls here. You basically, let's do the attack. You right click, do learn CC, and then if you move that fader, you will see that it is now controlling the attack. Okay. And then let's do one for the encoder. Let's just say we do cutoff and learn CC, and then we do that. And you can see that's controlling the cutoff. So we've got this for our attack, this for our cutoff. All right. And now if we go back to the track, we can actually write in some automation. First thing you need to do is make sure that you have this set to, you have to use more in this case, but I've set it to MIDI channel, all CC, and modulation. So that's the one I'm actually, the modulation is this fader. I'm actually doing the automation for that one with this particular track here. If you want to add another track, you would hit the plus sign here, and then here you would do the same thing. You'd go down to more, MIDI channel, all CC, and then I think the other one we did was, is it expression? Yeah, I think it was expression. Somewhere in this list. Here it is. Sorry about that. Okay, so now we have one. We can write the expression, we can write the modulation. I'm going to just do the modulation for now. Well, I guess it does them both at the same time. Yeah, I guess if you have them both enabled, it does both at the same time. Okay, so in this case, I would just go ahead and play the track and write some automation with this guy. Some with this. And hit stop. And then if I hit play, you can see in your, you can see how it's moving the attack with the automation. And then it's moving the cutoff with the encoder knob. So that's basically how you would use custom mapping with the encoder and the faders with a VST. And you want to get more in depth with this, Dr. Mix does a great job. He has a video that you can refer to. It'll be in the description on this video. And he gets into, about 5 minutes into the video, he gets into user-defined mode and how he uses it with the keyboard and with modulation, and there's some great examples there. So take a look at that. And that pretty much wraps up this video for an introduction to custom mapping with the version 2.0 firmware on the platform M+. As always, you can go to our website and click on the home page. And from there, you can go to Help Center. And from there, you can always submit a request. If you have any questions, we can help you out. Submit a request to us, and you'll have one-on-one help with a technician. And that's basically it. I hope this was very helpful for you, and enjoy your custom mapping with the Platform M+.